Hey everyone, good afternoon. Welcome to our 7th annual Border Book Bash celebrating teens and tweens of the Rio Grande Valley. I'm Margie Longoria, and right now I have with me my magical panel, my Books Are Magic panel, with some of my amazing friends who I love and who always come through for me in person or in line. This is my group right here, so we might be a little bit silly, I guess, or how we might get off topics, but we're going to try real hard to do this correctly. So I'm going to ask you guys to introduce yourselves, tell us where you're tuning in from, and a little bit about your books. That's the most important part. Okay, we'll start with Cody.
Oh, hi. It's like the Brady Bunch. You're Alice, Jackie.
Yay! I get to clean up after all of you.
Yeah, we're already going off the rails. I love that the only thing you can see of my shirt is "Be gay, do crime," and that's all you can see.
We're all like, what? Huh?
Okay.
Yeah. Just trust me. Hi, I'm Cody Wagner, and I'm actually tuning in from Phoenix, Arizona. And I have the queer trilogy called The Gay Teen's Guide to Defeating a Siren that is out. Book 3 is pretty new, and I can't get them in order, but here you can see them.
They have the best covers ever.
Thank you. I did not do them. And in a very one-sentence nutshell, it's about a teenager who comes out. His parents freak out and drag him off to this horrible conversion therapy boarding school. But when the parents leave, the school reveals it's actually a secret refuge for gay teens. And he gets to go to a secret queer high school that happens to be at war with the mythic siren. And they have to figure out why the heck us and stop her before students die. The end.
It's the best. Thank you, Cody. Okay, Beth.
Hi, I'm Beth Fehlbaum. I'm tuning in from Maybank, Texas, about an hour southeast of Dallas. And my most recent book is called Find the Moon, and I'm hoping it does really well. It is about a girl named Kylie, whose mom is a drug addict and a drug dealer, and she has trafficked Kylie since she was in middle school, and then she promised her she'd never have to do it again. And when basically Mama rides in on the back of a motorcycle with Satan himself, not literally Satan. Anyway, if there is a literal Satan, anyway, I digress. Anyway, so Kylie takes her little sister and runs, and ends up with grandparents that she had been told were dead and separated from her beloved little sister, Eliza. So the crux of the story is really about the sisters' relationship. And the reason it's called Find the Moon is because Kylie tells Eliza when they have to split, because Eliza has a different dad than Kylie does, whenever you miss me, look for the moon. And there's more of a connection to the moon than even that. And so I write gritty, authentic YA. I call it gritty YA with a heart. And I tend to write problem novels. I have yet to write a nice mother in a book, but I'm working on it. I'm hoping that it'll happen in my next one. Anyway, so I'm really excited about Find the Moon, and hopefully it's going to do well.
You write books, Beth, that other people are scared to write. So that most people are scared to write because they're very truthful and they're very real and raw. So thank you for that. Okay, Miracle.
Hi. So happy to be here. Thank you, Margie. I'm tuning in from Waco, Texas, and I've written the Doll trilogy. There you go, there. And it's a coming of age, young adult story. Lots of supernatural elements. I have a teen young adult warlock who doesn't want to identify with his new Supra, and he embraces it throughout the story. So lots of twists and turns in that one. And then I also have Boundless, and it's a collection of short stories and free verse poems. It's a gumbo of genres in there. And my new one I have coming out the end of January, this isn't the cover, but Fright Bites, and it's going to be 29 short stories in here, and they're all horror and creepy. So I'm excited about that.
Cool.
Jackie.
Hey, y'all. I'm Jackie. I am tuning in from Dallas, Texas. I'm the author of 14 books, but I'll just show you a couple of them. So the first is Cemetery Tours, about a young man he can see and talk to the dead. I have and it's the first in a series. I have the boy band series about a young lady in love with her best friend who just happens to be a member of the world's hottest boy band. And then I have my newest release, which is Shipwreck Girl. It's about a ballerina who sustains what she believes to be a career-ending knee injury, but then she auditions for a punk pop music video, which is something that she would never do, and she gets the part.
DC.
Hi, everyone. So DC Gomez. I'm coming from East Texas. I'm in Texarkana, so about 2.5, 3 hours away from Dallas for everybody who wants to know the reference. And I feel like I'm the unprepared author because I really don't have any of my books with me. But so I was like, what? Books? We're supposed to have those things? What? I write? Really? Oh, God. I know. I was like, I write? What? So
You have a poster in the background.
I know there's stuff in the background. I could have just grabbed those. So I am a multi-genre author. So I do everything from urban fantasy to devotionals. So for my YA series, I have the Intern Diaries. Specifically designed is based on the Four Horsemen. So the apocalypse takes place in Texas. And I give you a tour pretty much in Texarkana and everywhere around here of what happens if your life gets knocked by death and asks you if you want to have a job offer. So that's kind of the fun thing. So if you like quirky characters, lots of adventure, and a whole bunch of madness, I'm your girl.
Next, Gume.
My name is Gume Laurel III. I'm currently living in San Antonio, Texas. Originally from Westlake, Texas, though, so 956.
That's right.
I write both poetry and young adult, but today I'm going to be focusing on my young adult books. I never remember to have my books on hand, so I have them today, so I'm very proud of myself. I have Blind Injustice, Captive in Truth, and Hunting for Stars. And I have my upcoming book that releases in February called Euphorics, which is about 6 individuals with unique identities. And what they all share in common is the ability to sense the emotions of others and control the emotions of others. So I'm really excited about that one.
It's so good, by the way, guys. You have to get it. It's so good.
Thank you, DC.
This panel, I wanted to put this panel together. It's everybody here is kind of like a different. It's not like one particular genre. And because I feel words are power and that books are magic, which is why I did that's the title, because I feel that a lot of times we, like me, for instance, I'm very genre. I like a certain genre and it's hard to get me out of my genre, right? I like romance. I like young adult romance and I like, regular women's romance, right? So I love romance books. And that's where I tend to go when I go to the bookstore. That's where I'm at. And those are the books that I get. But then there's so many other beautiful books in the world that, I want to read that too. Like I read Gume's book and his book is science fiction. And I'm not going to lie, science fiction. And that's not like really where I go to whenever I want to read, but I will read it. And then whenever I read it, I remember how much I do love it and how I just kind of that's what I wanted to showcase in this particular panel, that we need to read out of our comfort zones. And most of the time you love, if you're a book lover like me, you just love books, then any book you read, if it's great, it's going to be great, so that was why I wanted to do this. So thank you guys for being here. And I'm going to ask like the basic question, where did your love of books and reading come from? And again, I want it just to be kind of like a little discussion. So whoever wants to start it, let's go.
I think mine started in the public library where I grew up in Westlake. Because I remember like reading at the school library, but I remember checking out the first Animorphs books back when they were still like newish. It was like where he turns into the lizard in the locker. Like that's how I remember the cover. And I just became really fascinated with reading. I remember that was like, okay, these are chapter books. Now I'm going to start reading chapter books. And so that was what really got me started.
So I think for me, I am originally from the Dominican Republic, and everybody was like, oh my God, you speak English really well. It's like, I've been here for a minute. But back when I actually started reading in English, I think books were my safe zone. It was the place that I could actually explore the language and not be judged and not have anybody ask, oh my God, what are you trying to say or anything. So transitioning from Spanish to full English was a huge journey. And books made that safe. It made it a place that I felt comfortable not having to try to read it out loud or anything, but I could escape to a world that eventually became very personal to me.
My love for books started with song lyrics, and it just kind of overflowed with that in different books that I was introduced to in my young junior high days. So definitely music lyrics.
I know my parents read to me. I mean, my mom tells me I don't even remember learning to read just because my parents read to me so much, and they told me they don't remember when I learned to read either. But one book that really stands out to me, it was either my preschool teacher or my kindergarten teacher read it to us, and it was called Shortcut by Donald Cruz. And it was about these kids who take the shortcut home along the railroad tracks, and all night they could hear the trains in the background. And for some reason, that just made me feel so like, oh, that's creepy. That's cool that I can feel this and I can visualize it and I can hear it. And I thought it was the neatest thing in the world that just words on a page could give me that feeling and that experience.
For me, my love of books came really from looking for answers. And I apologize for the dogs barking. I muted myself a second ago. The UPS guy came and they have to defend the castle, of course. Anyway, I've been reading and writing ever since I don't remember ever not doing it. Of course, I'm sure I didn't, but when I think about books, I just get this warm feeling and comfort, and it was an escape for me, but it was also a way to find answers. And I told you guys I write about rough stuff. And so I write about it like from my own personal experience as far as having a really traumatic childhood. And one of the big things I did in middle school was I actually went to the middle school library and was trying to find the words for what was happening to me at home as far as abuse stuff. And I never really, I also found myself in books as far as like, as an adult, when I was going through recovery and from trauma and stuff like that, I was looking for another book to read on the treadmill. This wasn't as a child, but it might as well have been. And I went in my daughter's room and I found Chris Crutcher's Staying Fat for Sarah Burns. And even though I was like, near 40 years old at the time, it blew my mind because I realized at that point, there's a place in the world for stories that I have inside of me. And that here is someone writing the truth on the page. And it was so empowering and so amazing. I get goosebumps just thinking about it. I mean, he blurbed Find the Moon, you guys. There's a Chris Crutcher blurb. And it was like, my life is complete. I have come full circle now. Yes. And he wrote about it that I write so authentically, and that when people close one of my books, they go, that's me. That could be me. And so I have this thing of my books don't have to have happy endings, but they have to have hopeful endings. And anyway, so that's where I found the love of reading, was looking for answers, even if it was fiction stuff, just looking at how other people live, in normal houses and stuff like that. So it's just like, it's like a relationship that's like indescribable to me.
Wow. Mine is not that deep. I'm like following it up with silly, but I went to a little bitty private Catholic elementary school. And so it was one of those where the library was like one rickety bookshelf, and it was Bible, 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 Bible. But at the very bottom, there was a little bitty stack of Nancy Drew books. And I picked up Nancy Drew and the Haunted Bridge. I still remember this. And I was like a fetus. And I became so addicted to Nancy Drew. And even though the ghost was just like a broom with a sheet over it on the bridge, I was like, this is the scariest book ever written. And that began my love.
Yeah. Nancy Drew and the Hardy Boys. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Even though, they'd been out a long time by the time I read them, but yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I love those books too.
Yeah.
Okay. So we already talked about, if you weren't a writer today, what would you be?
Well, I'm a teacher, and that's what I would be if I weren't a writer. Yeah.
Cool.
I teach English, and it's what I would be even if I weren't a writer.
Awesome.
I'm a photographer and I volunteer at the Dallas Zoo, and wildlife conservation has always really been my passion. So I'd probably be doing that full time.
I think I love being creative. So if I wasn't writing, I would have to have some kind of creative outlet. And so I think if it were me right now, I would probably be getting in costume for my role in Christmas Carol as the Ghost of Christmas Future, and I'd just be like, "Arr," because I am a better writer than I am an actor. So that would be me in this moment right now.
You can still be really scary though. So yeah. Fingers.
Well, I'm a social worker. If I could do anything else, probably a graphic designer. If I could really could draw, that's something I would have loved to have done. Definitely.
I think for me, I would have loved to own a bakery. Like I would like to wake up and just bake. Why don't I do it now? I would love to bake. I would love to bake bread specifically and just get it all fancy, have like make coffee, like fancy coffee and all of that.
Yeah.
Now I'm like, that sounds like a lot of work, but if I did it actually,
Like, I would hate that.
I know, it's like, that sounds like so much work, but can you imagine owning like a bakery, having people come in and like pick up like their breads and their cookies in the morning, just chit-chatting? I think that would be amazing, but it has to be like fairly small town. Like I don't want to be like in New York City where like traffic comes in, like that sounds like work. Yeah.
And like to be that people would like depend on you like for their morning
Awesome.
bread, and you had to always like be there and show up for your people. That's
Okay,
a
Margie.
big responsibility.
now you're busting my dream even more. It's like, wait,
No,
I
I'm
don't
not.
wanna
I
have
want
that
you to
much
do it, but I'm like,
responsibility.
I wouldn't be able to do it because I'm so scatterbrained. I can't even keep it together half the time. Okay.
I think I would have wanted to done something with film because I got into that in high school, with like media tech classes with editing, and I seriously thought to go into that because we started doing competitions and we'd like actually place and advance to state and like do well with it, but then that just didn't pan out. So writing it is. I can't bake, like that would never be an option for me. Like I can't even, a tuna sandwich is about as much as I'll go in the kitchen.
You can make a tuna sandwich?
Depends on the day, but yes.
I can't.
So, growing up, what were some of your favorite books and your favorite authors, and why?
So can I admit that that's a hard question for the simple fact that I can't remember? I was like growing up like 30 years ago. I'm like, I'm 43. I was like,
Well,
God,
let's
I
look, what
don't.
are some of your favorite books now?
Okay, thank you.
And
Let's
why?
fast forward to like now. Growing up, I was like, oh my God, how long ago is that? So I'm addicted to urban fantasy. So I think one of my passions, anybody who likes urban fantasy, is pick up Kim Harrison's The Hollow series or pick up Jim Butcher's The Dresden Files. Like I can get lost. Somebody asked me yesterday, what's the definition of a good book for me? It's something that I can get lost. Like I can look up and be like, oh God, there goes 3 hours of my life. What was I doing? That would be an amazing book. Growing up, like I can think of Dr. Seuss, where the places you'll go that I love. But other than that, yeah, that's hard. Like I might be old. I'm like, I don't think I can think that far.
Growing up, I was obsessed. Oh, I'm sorry, Miracle.
No. Go ahead.
I was obsessed with the Bailey School Kids,
Aw.
and I love. Oh God, it was. I just remember. Oh, and I loved Bill Wallace. I thought his books were just so cool, especially Shadow on the Snow, aka Danger on Panther Peak. I don't know why it had two titles, but my fourth grade teacher, Mrs. Harper, read us some of the best books, including Shadow on the Snow. She read us Where the Red Fern Grows, which was very, very, very sad, but it was still really good. She read us Summer of the Monkeys. She read us Bridge to Terabithia. I mean, so all of those books, I feel like, played a huge part in shaping my love of reading as well.
I feel like she was just like, I'm going to make my students cry today.
I mean, we did have that talk at Thanksgiving about how, what were the books you read as kids? Well, in this one, the dogs died. In this one, the kid died. In this one, the parents died. It's like, wow. Yeah.
That's a lot of death.
I read something. There was a little meme of a little kid who did like his first, I don't know, and Charlotte's Web, and he put like he on the cover of the book, he put "Do not read." Like just don't read it. The saddest book in the world. And it's so funny because I was like, oh my God. When you think about the books that we read as children, Charlotte's Web, The Bridge, all those books were so depressing. Like, why did they make us read them as kids?
There was even one that I read like in second grade about blueberries, like, or blackberries. Like, the kids went out to pick blackberries. The friend gets stung by a bee and dies. It's
It
just
was
like,
Sam. I just saw that book cover the other day, and the one about the little match girl, that book, like the Christmas story, but like, what is that?
that's
And then
depressing too.
the one where she has like that ribbon tied around her neck, and they're like, "Don't take the ribbon off, don't take the ribbon off."
Mhm.
And then one day they take the ribbon off, and her head falls off.
That's like the creepy urban legend. That's not the little match girl. That is something entirely different. Oh,
I feel like I'm
and
missing
Scary
out. I'm like,
Stories
what
to
books
Tell
are
in the
these?
Yes.
I'm like, what are these stories? God,
The stories we read in elementary.
I am so happy I went to Dominican Republic in elementary school. I missed all this trauma. I'm like, what is this?
Judy Bloom, you guys, forever. The book
Yeah.
forever. I think I read it till the pages fell out. I swear.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I did too.
I love
Miracle, you were going to say something
Uh,
when I
well,
interrupted you.
No, it's okay. Margie kind of answered that, but for me, it would be Charlotte's Web. That was one book that stood out for me, but it was very, full of grief. But one thing I took from Charlotte's Web was the genuine friendship between Charlotte and Wilbur. That and the sacrifice, that right there, that's always stayed with me. It's just so beautiful.
It is
It's
beautiful.
so rare
It's
to
so
find
beautiful.
that kind of true friendships, and so that stood with me more than the death. So, yeah.
The current one that I am obsessed with, and this has been like a 2-year obsession, is I Am Not Your Perfect Mexican Daughter by Erica Sanchez. I met her before I read the book, and I was such a goofball in front of her. I was like, "Hey, Erica!" And then I read the book, and she can say in this many words, she can say this much. And I think it is just gorgeous, her writing. And so now I want to meet her again and get a do-over.
Cody,
Yeah,
don't scare
No,
her. Don't
Cody,
scare her.
that's
I
you.
did.
Don't do that. That'll be bad. Don't scare her.
Right, we don't need a serious
Yeah. it's
Cody
like-
Wagner. But yeah, that's why I think books are so powerful, because I remember one of my favorite books as a little girl was also Where the Wild Things Are. I love that book so much. To this day, I love that book so much. It's one of my favorite, because it was probably like the first book I remember my mother reading to me. And Max, that little boy, I love him. He was this mischievous. When I was little, I was a lot like Max. I was a mischievous, but I wasn't a boy. I was a girl. But I was kind of like, I do what I want. You're nobody's gonna tell me what to do. And like I just loved that character. And those books stick with you forever. Your childhood. That's why I think it's so important. Like for books, like the books that you guys write, it's important because a lot of these books that you write will stick with a person forever. And so that's why I feel books are so important and powerful and magic.
Okay, Gume still has to tell us his books. You think you're getting away, so
Well, so I don't know if I'm the only one. So like as a kid, I loved like the Animorphs, and I remember there was all sorts of like not Animorph spin-offs, but like in that same like there was like Diadem, there was like a bunch of others that were like sci-fi, like kids lit. But now I actually don't like to. I can't get into books that are the genres I write. So I don't know if I'm the only one here that deals with that. So I don't really care to read sci-fi, even like sci-fi movies. I'm like, I don't get into it. I love speculative fiction. I love like more realistic fiction. And so like those are the stories I love. Like A.S. King, brilliant work. The last book I read by them was Switch, and it's like a surrealist fiction. So it's like the story's happening, but it's not like this. The house that the girl is in is slowly shifting until like as if it's going through like a clock. So at one point the walls are the floor, and then at one point the ceiling is the floor as the story progresses. And so it's just like written in a very like surrealist way. And so I like that, but that's not the genre that I write in. So I don't know if y'all deal with that also.
That's funny. No, I like romance.
She's like, "You're a weirdo."
Yeah. Although what's funny when you said the Animorphs, it made me think of how when I was in elementary school reading all the depressing books, I went to private school. We weren't allowed to read the Animorphs, but we were totally allowed to read Bridge to Terabithia and Where the Red Fern Grows.
What's crazy is if you read them now, and they're actually super dark.
Ooh.
Yeah, like
Really?
they're releasing
I've
them as
never read
graphic
them.
novels, and I'm reading them like repurchasing them as graphic novels, and they're really dark. Like they deal with a lot of traumatic stuff, but just very casually. And I
Ooh.
don't remember that. Maybe that's why I turned out this way, but
But a lot of children's books do. They deal with a lot of heavy topics. And I didn't realize that until I studied children's literature in college and stuff, at how there's a lot. A lot of people like to dismiss children's literature and adolescent literature and young adult literature as like frivolous, whatever. It's just no, like there's so much in adolescent literature, in children's literature, and it's not just for children, it's written for everybody. Sometimes we give it, I don't know. I can go on forever about the craziness and the beautifulness of children's literature. Right. So let's talk about where you get some of your inspiration from, like Cody, like your little your series. Where did because your series is great, and I love it for a lot of I have it, for my students at school. It's a fun series to give to a high school kid. So where did all that come from?
Well, so interestingly, I have like two sides of my writing, and one is I actually do a lot of sketch writing for like comedy, and for that, my inspiration comes from anytime I watch a movie or TV show or anything, and something strikes me as kind of weird, like, or even a conversation with a friend that is like, that was weird. My brain automatically starts turning it into a sketch. But for books like Gay Teen's Guide, I actually realized fairly recently that I actually write about what I need. And so I grew up in a tiny little town near Amarillo where being gay was not the best, you could say. And so I was really lonely and I couldn't come out. And it was actually really depressing because being gay in Pampa, Texas, it wasn't like pitchforks and all this homophobia. It didn't exist. Like our little town tried to pretend that gay did not exist inside of its walls. And so I thought I was the only gay person in existence. And so I needed a friend. I needed a secret gay school that I could attend so I could actually be out and proud. And so I basically wrote this series for young me because I needed it so I can get in a time machine and go back and give it to me and say, like, you're not alone. And so that's what I realized. I write based on needs. I gave a serious answer.
I love that, Cody. That's such a beautiful answer, though. And why your books are so important, why books like it are so important, because there's tons of kids who feel the same way that you do. And maybe it's not as, as bad as it once was, but it's still not great for our gay kids, so they still need these books to see themselves, to not feel alone, and to understand that it's okay that they're the way they are. So
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thanks. I'm blushing.
I write, I get my inspiration from lots of places, from movies, from books. My mom has told me stories. I'm a people listener. I listen to everything and I take it in. And especially at work, oh my gosh, the conversations at work are amazing. It's just amazing what people talk about. So I just kind of just collect it all. And that's where I get a lot of my inspiration and music and songs. So I get it from everywhere. I just kind of pull it, it's like a huge quilt of information that I just kind of pick and choose and store it. So.
You said a gumbo earlier to represent a lot of genres and now a quilt. Like, I love your images.
Thank you. Thanks, Cody.
Well, for Find the Moon, there's one element of it is there's a creative writing club at the high school that my protagonist ends up at. And a few years ago, I was at a small rural school, which is the kind of schools I tend to teach in. And one of my students said, next year, can we have a creative writing club? And I said, oh, I'll find out. And we did it. We actually published an anthology. And so the girls that were in, there's like 4 girls that were in the creative writing club initially, and their names are in the book. I said, I'm going to write a book. I'm going to put your names in there. And one of the girls had such a traumatic background going on. It's like I couldn't really base the story or her storyline actually on her because there was so much going on in her life. And so and I'm not going to say which one it is now, but anyway, so I really changed the character from who she actually is. But I also wanted to explore, like, Find the Moon is the least autobiographical of my books that I've written, so it was the most difficult, really. I don't have a sister, and I don't have a close relationship with my brother, but I wanted to explore what would happen if there was a teenage girl who had been basically the parent for her little sister for the first 3 years of her little sister's life, and what would happen if they were removed from each other, if they were kind of like amputated from each other's lives. How would both of them get along? And so I live out in the country, and we have 2 Nigerian dwarf goats. So of course I had to have Nigerian dwarf goats in my story, right? I also wanted to explore like the healing element of animals in people's lives, and just how that unconditional love that they provide can be such a motivator for holding on even when things are hard. And so I also have that element in there. So and I kind of, most all my books have been set, I tend to set them around, I live in the Cedar Creek Lake area of East Texas, right on the edge of East Texas, really on the edge of the piney woods. And so I tend to go back to a town called Patience, where my first 3 books were called Courage in Patience, Hope in Patience, and Truth in Patience. And Find the Moon is also in Patience, and I bring in some of the characters from the Patience books in there. And speaking of Texarkana, DC, my book starts in Texarkana.
Really? Aww.
Yeah, they stop when the grandparents are driving Kylie back to Texas. They stop at the post office that's on the state line.
I know exactly what that is.
Yeah. And so anyway, something in common.
Growing up, DC, my aunt, my mom's older sister, my Aunt Delia, she married a man. He came down here to play basketball at our college here, and she met him and married him, and they moved back to a place called Queen, Arkansas. And we would go to, sometimes my dad would usually fly us to Arkansas for the summers, but sometimes my mom's other sister, my Aunt Lupe, she would want to go too, so then we would drive, me and my brother, my mom, and my 2 cousins, and we would go through Texarkana. That's why I know where Texarkana is, because we would go right through Texarkana, because DeQueen is kind of close to Texarkana. And so the airport was in Texarkana. We'd land in Texarkana and then drive to Arkansas.
So one of the jokes for anybody who's not familiar with it, when I first moved down here, they're like, you're going to Texarkana. I thought it was a joke. I was like, that's not a place called Texarkana. Like, it's in Texas. So I had to pull, it is. I have to pull the map and everything. So you're asking for inspiration when I decided to do my urban fantasy series. I picked Texarkana as the location. And one of the reasons I wanted to do it was because everybody says there's nothing to do in Texarkana. That's the ongoing joke here. So I wanted to do something, and I was a youth minister at the time. So I wanted to do something. So if you were a kid in Texarkana, you can find yourself and be like, oh my God, there's all these random stuff that happens in this town that nobody pays attention to. And you can actually give yourself permission to dream that you can do something big, even in a tiny town like Texarkana, which we're not that small. We're in the middle of nowhere. So we're the biggest city. So people will cross and drive by us and have no idea where we're at. So it's kind of fun.
Well, my inspiration, I mean, most of my stories that I write just because they're the books that I would want to read. Like, I love boy bands, so why wouldn't I write a romance novel about a girl who's in love with a guy in a boy band? But with Cemetery Tours, I kind of had the same experience. Okay, I wrote it because I needed it, like Cody said. In 2010, I lost I lost my cat. I usually say I lost someone very close to me. He was my cat. And I was devastated. I was heartbroken. I loved him so much. And I needed reassurance that he was still with me. So I started reading all these, life after death books. I started binge watching Ghost Adventures, which I still watch today because Ghost Adventures is awesome. And I started writing, bless you. And I started writing.
Yes.
I started writing Cemetery Tours just really to make myself feel better and to give me some assurance that, life does continue after death. And it's grown into a 4, almost 5 book series. And it's the story that I needed at the time. I didn't even think I was going to write a ghost story. I didn't think I was going to publish it, but it was what I needed.
A lot of my writing, I try to focus on people who don't always see themselves in books traditionally. especially with communities that I'm a part of, with the queer community or Latinx community. And then with even that, taking it a step forward to have conversations about issues within our own community. So for example, with Euphorix, it deals like primarily it's a Latinx cast, but within that, dealing with colorism and racism within the Latinx community. With the queer characters, one of the characters is HIV positive, and understanding that kind of discrimination even within the queer community, the discrimination and the issues that we face even when we're supposed to feel at home.
Okay, that was, and it's a good, when does it come out?
It's in February.
February, okay.
Yeah.
Well, I think tackling HIV within the queer community, I think that's really powerful. That's something that is not done a lot. But I think you're absolutely right. There is a lot of judgment there.
Right. And I think it's just because I feel like with everybody's going to discriminate one direction when they're not aware of it. And so I think just inherently, like within the trans community, within the queer community, the HIV community, how, we live in a world where today, literally you can be HIV positive and not be able to transmit HIV to anybody else, but it's still seen as something to avoid, a person to avoid and not, so I think that's an important conversation.
And, and you're talking about colorism within the Latino community. That's very, very real. I mean, it's crazy how people treat you based on the color of your skin. And I know growing up, I had my cousin Jessica was, she passed away during COVID. She was a nurse and she passed away that first COVID summer. And I was devastated because she was like, we're 6 months apart. She was like my sister. Her mom and my mom were sisters. So we grew up like sisters. Well, Jessica and I were very different. I was very short and light skinned. Jessica was very tall and dark skinned. And I remember when we would go visit my aunt in Arkansas, they would treat us different. We would go to like we had a little church. My aunt had a church. So we would go to the little, she had all kinds of things for us to do all summer long. Like we were summer kids in Arkansas, but we did all of these like little kid activities. And I remember I didn't notice it until she pointed it out to me that they treated me. They were nicer to me than they were to her. And I was like, I wasn't paying attention, but then whenever, as I got older, I realized that's what it was. It's because she was dark and I was light. And that's ugly that people do that to people. But okay, that's my thing with colorism.
Well, and that's the issue, Marty, too, in the African American community. It's been an issue for a very long time, and it still is an issue. So it's unfortunate that it's real and exists, and I think it's just something that's just going to continue for people who have those feelings, unfortunately. So
it's very unfortunate.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay. Now let's talk about some of the favorite things you like to do when you're not writing. Like fun things. And I know this group is super fun because I'm hung out with all of y'all. Y'all are like super fun. We have too much fun.
Well, I am obsessed with K-pop.
Oh, yes.
So, Cody, leave me alone. Do not say a word. I've tried so many times when Cody and I were on road trips. Okay, we're listening to K-pop. Okay, are they cute? Okay, come on. And so have fun. And in February, when you were in the car with me and KJ for 9 hours.
Help!
We're gonna have a lot of fun.
Oh yeah, y'all are coming. Y'all here.
Yeah, I watch a lot of K-pop music videos. And my sister and I go to the K-pop store. We go to a lot of concerts. Don't ask us how we have money for that because I have no idea. She usually buys the tickets and I pay her back. It's like, okay, here you go.
People are going to drive by and I'm going to be holding this up to like the car window.
Help me, I've been kidnapped. What does it say? Did you actually write something on it? I can't see it.
It says help.
Help.
But yeah, so that is my favorite thing to do. Here you go.
Aww.
The other day, she tweeted me. Who was it, Cody? That was Mr. Darcy.
Oh, it was Taeyang. It was Kim Taeyang, V from BTS. He did his little Regency photo shoot, and everyone was sharing the pictures and quoting from Pride and Prejudice, and I was just like, please remake every single Jane Austen work, Emily Bronte, whatever, whoever you want to make, and make Taeyang your main character, please.
That was cute. I was like, oh, yeah.
So I don't.
Go ahead,
There we go.
DC. Nope.
Oh, so I don't think I have that much of an obsession as Jackie. I was like, I don't know. I love music of any kind. So lately I'm going back to watching a lot of music videos and going to concerts. So usually one of the things I like to do, I'm big into the arts. So if I can go hang out in museums and actually just live anything, that's usually what I do. Like last night I got to watch one of my friends who have a band. They're like, hey, you want to come see us play? I'm like, sure. Where are you going? Like I need information. Where are we at? So I got to watch Split Decisions playing out in town. So yes.
Jackie,
Jackie's in heaven.
they have
I see that. I need to.
She's also a K-popper. She's one of my friends. I mean, they love. That's how I learned about K-pop, was through them and through K-dramas. I remember, and they were watching K-dramas like years ago, and they were like, Margie, and I was too scared to start watching them because I was too scared to become obsessed like them.
You
I'm
get
very
obsessed.
So I was like, I can't. I don't need another obsession in my life. I need to stay away from K-dramas because
I think
and
that's
I
why
haven't watched them for that reason.
That's honestly why I resisted K-dramas and BTS for so long, because I knew the minute I watched a music video, I would get hooked, and I did. It was inevitable.
She did. She started in 2012. I remember whenever they first came out, and the twins were like, Margie, and I was like, you guys don't. I'm too scared. I can't go down another path of like craziness because I would have.
2012?
Yes, that's whenever they started watching them. I remember it was like 10 years ago. Yeah.
Wow.
It was crazy.
All the time.
Yeah.
But that's funny. Okay.
Well, before COVID, I used to go to the movies all the time, but I have not been to theater since. I just stream everything and used to go to concerts. So my last concert was Janet Jackson. It was amazing. And she's getting ready to go on tour again. So I may break out of my shell. I don't know. I used to collect stamps a lot, but I just kind of do here and there. So I have a pretty nice stamp collection. I have to share that one day. And I used to also collect Garbage Pail Kid cards. Do y'all remember those?
Yeah.
So I have a little collection of those. So things like that, and listening to music that's just ongoing. So yeah.
You also love Wednesday.
Yes, that's my yes. Yes, if y'all haven't watched that series, oh my gosh.
Is it scary?
Amazing. It's not scary. No,
I don't like scary. I'm a big scaredy cat.
It's eerie and it has darkness, but it has so many other things in it too. So it's great. Tim Burton did a great job.
Think of dark comedy if you think about it. If you like Edward Scissorhands, or if you like, then you're gonna like Wednesday.
Yeah.
Okay.
You can
Yes.
It's amazing. Yeah, and
I wanna be
Jessica Alba is
Thing.
amazing. Yeah. Yes, Thing. Oh my gosh, he's amazing. He's just a hand, but he's beyond that. I'm serious. Once you watch it, you're like, oh, that's what you meant. I'm like, yep.
I think pre-pandemic, I used to always be doing stuff. I used to always be at shows or concerts and out and about. And I think I became like kind of a shut-in, a hermit through the pandemic. So I still I'll still every once in a while, if there's like a really big concert, a show I want to go see, I'll go. I think I go like hiking, if anything. Like I'll just go on trails and do that for like a day.
Yeah, I walk my
It's
dogs.
really hard. I'm sorry, Beth. Go ahead.
Okay.
Oh, I walk my dogs daily, or they walk me, and then I'm sitting here thinking, what do I do when I'm not writing laundry?
That's you.
I'm the one that does everything at my house, and so I basically teach, grade, laundry, and stuff like that. So I don't have just a whole lot of other free time as far as that goes. I mean, I like to read articles online. I like to read a lot of nonfiction stuff and history and political stuff and stuff like that. But other than that, I'm not. You guys have more fun, carefree lives, I think. So, yeah.
Oh
Cody,
God.
what do you do? What makes you interesting?
I watch video game streams, but I also am a big hiker walker. But right now, it's Christmas season, and I love the romance Hallmark movies. Like I watch them nonstop, and I cry on all of them, and I'm like, Lindsay Lohan, your amnesia saved you. Yeah, so that's me right now.
I haven't watched that one yet.
It's
I
awful.
haven't either, but I saw it.
It's awful.
There's one on Netflix called Holidays in the Wild,
I love that one.
and it's got Kristen Davis, and it's like all about elephant
And
conservation.
Rob Lowe.
And
And Rob Lowe.
And how
Right? Is Rob Lowe?
good does he look in that?
Oh my God. It was
Oh,
so good.
Okay, may I say though, the ending of that movie is totally unrealistic. They would never set a 1-year-old orphan baby elephant free. That is like setting a 1-year-old child free. He would stay with his caretakers until he was at least maybe 5 to 8 years old. Then he would graduate to the older kids' nursery where he would hang out with other elephants his own age. He is not going to be full grown until his 20s.
You know, I was so wondering that because all the other elephants, they showed them going into the older pens, but then they're like, here's this embryo, go be in the wild.
Yeah, no, that is so unrealistic. That drove me nuts. And my sister was like, this is why I hate watching movies about animals with you.
But it was so good.
It was so good. Me and Michael saw it the other day, and we were like, I loved it. It was so good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I'm feeling like the Grinch because I will not watch Hallmark. I was like, do I have to? Thank you, Gume.
I'm with you. I'm with you.
I was like, man, I'm like the Grinch. Like, I love the enthusiasm. I love the energy you guys bring. Just give me like the recap. I'll take it anytime. If I'm like, you want to go sit and watch? I'm like, all day? I was like, ooh.
You have to have the right mindset, like knowing what you're getting into to enjoy it.
Yeah, I'm not there yet.
Right now on what is it called? Something about it, but it's a writer. And he comes into this, they come to this Hanobi, this girl that he meets doesn't even know. He's like this famous New York
Noel
Times.
Diaries?
Yes, that's it.
I need to watch that so bad.
I watched it. It was
It's
pretty good. Yeah.
I'm so excited.
See,
I can't wait for the holiday break because I'm going to watch everything.
I'm planning to go watch Die Hard, and I'm like, yeah, we're not in the right crowd. Thank you. That's what I'm heading to. Is that Christmas movie? Die Hard.
It's a Christmas movie.
It is. And it's a romance
movie.
That's
That's
such a
for some reason.
I spend time on Discovery ID and Oxygen Network, so you guys have more pure, I guess. Yeah. I'm like, give me a killer. My husband's even started watching now. It's like willingly. He'll like, I'm like, what are you watching? American Monster. Okay. So,
Merry Christmas.
yeah. Homicide for the Holidays. Yeah. Seriously, that's a show. Yeah.
Ah.
Yeah.
I mean, I like it. I like a good murder flick or crime documentary as well. So I appreciate both.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Balance.
Mm-hmm.
I have no balance. I'm so obsessed on one. I can't. I need balance. Okay. So as your typical Friday night at 16 years old, what were you doing? Were you an adventurous teen or a shy teen or a rebellious teen?
I think I was writing Harry Potter fan fiction in my bedroom, so no.
Were you really? That's so awesome.
Yeah, that was me at 16.
I think, if I remember correctly, I was probably in the color guard and doing some other stuff that my parents dragged me to. So yeah, not adventures, definitely very nerdy, not exciting, none of that, no.
For me, my dad was so strict, so the only thing I could do was, go to the Blockbuster and the local video rental VHS store and get movies. And I think Miami Vice was on Friday nights, or I can't remember, but
yes. Miami Vice was on Friday nights.
So that was it.
I was a member of the Red, White, and Blue Club where we had a huge, like half of a football field size American flag. And so at the football games, we would go roll us out, and then you hold on to it and you drop to your knees and hold it while the Star Spangled Banner was being played. Then we'd go to Pizza Hut afterwards. So yeah, that was my small town.
Cody, Corey, Gume.
I was probably somewhere I shouldn't have been, doing something I shouldn't have been doing.
You're border kid. You got away with a lot.
I was pretty like I was like a decent student. Like I wasn't like getting in trouble at school, but like after school, yeah, I was probably doing something I shouldn't have been doing.
There's one story thing that popped into my head that really was when I was 16, but Jackie is going to lecture me for years if I tell this because it's gross.
Don't tell it. Don't tell it. Save yourself. Don't do it.
Well, now you got to tell me.
Well, okay, this is not me, but in Pampa, this tiny little town in Texas, it was in the middle of nowhere. You had to make your own fun. And my best friend, y'all, this is awful.
You didn't like blow up a cat, did you?
No, we would do the most, like, it was always about doing the most random things.
Okay, as long as you didn't hurt any animals, I don't care what you did.
No animals being hurt. So
yeah, okay. I didn't think you would. I know you.
Yeah. Oh no, I would never do that. He was my best friend at the time, and I encouraged it because I thought it was hysterical. He went through a phase when I was 16 where he would try to poop in the most random place possible. And it culminated with him climbing up onto the roof of our little bowling alley and pooping in one of the vents just to see what would happen. And now this session can end.
Well, now I want to know what happened.
Statute of limitations has passed, I'm sure. So
yeah.
Oh my God.
We ran. I don't even know.
What happened?
I don't understand how he poops in public like that.
I don't either. I'm so poo shy. I literally, in 3 years, Jackie's going to be like, remember when you told that story about poop?
And it's recorded for all eternity.
Time.
Yeah. For eternity.
Cody, I tried to save you. I tried to tell you not
to
do it.
I
tried.
And I told you I wasn't gonna judge as long as no animals were hurt. No animals were hurt. So.
Never hurt an animal.
No, I don't care.
No.
So what is your favorite restaurant? Can y'all tell us what your favorite foods and your favorite restaurants are?
Well, not bowling alley food, that's for sure.
Like, I'm never eating at a bowling alley in Tampa again.
I have to say Chick-fil-A. Love Chick-fil-A. And Olive Garden are my favorite.
I love Olive Garden. That is high quality Italian food. And that is a joke, but no, it's really good. I love Olive Garden.
So I have a passion for Japanese food. So anything with noodles and rice and sushi, sign me up.
Mine is Thai. I eat Thai.
Really?
Like 5 times a week at least. So it's my obsession. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I love Thai food too. I was waiting to see if Cody was going to speak before I did because I know Cody loves it. But also, I love botanas from the Valley, and that's what I always get whenever I visit the Valley. I always make sure to get a chicken fajita botana.
Wait, what is that?
Ooh, tell me, what
it's
is
like,
that?
I don't know how to explain it. Margie'd probably be better. It's like nachos, but but with tons of meat.
How have y'all never had a botana when you've been here?
Right.
In
February. For those
when y'all come in February, I'm going to feed you all botana.
Okay.
Yeah.
Remind me because I won't remember because I eat botana all the time. But okay, remind me.
Thank you.
What it is, it's tortilla chips with cheese, so they become nachos with beans and cheese, and then thrown on top of that is fajitas, chicken fajitas, tomatoes, avocado, guacamole, stuff like that. Like it's really, really good. But you have to get it from a good place because some people don't make good botanas. But I will take you to a good botana place.
How do you
Where
spell
do you get
that?
yours from?
I like them from Costa Mesa. I like them from Casa del Taco. I like them from, there's several places here. There's a place, it's not called Hassos. I call it Hassos because the Hassos own it, but it's called Don Pepe's. I like their botana. But there's some that I don't like, and I'm not going to say because it's not nice. But I'll take you guys to a good botana place. Remind me.
This looks so good. I'm looking at pictures right now.
Oh no, they're the best. They're the best. Rice, beans, also like on the side.
Yeah.
I cannot believe y'all have not had botana coming to the Valley all this time.
No.
Okay. Well, we'll fix that.
Last time I was down there in Olive Garden.
No. We'll fix it.
Caitlin came over to my hotel room and we ate Olive Garden.
Yum.
Yum. That's exciting. I'm excited.
I am too.
Woo.
And the beauty is it's just so much food, but you'll
Yeah.
order, say, like a botana for 3 people. If all of us had it here, we'd still have leftovers because it's just so much
Oh,
food
wow.
they pack in.
Okay. Okay. Wow.
Yeah, botanas are great. With tortillas, they serve them with. So you make tacos, like they're good.
Yum.
And
Thank you.
nobody else sells botanas. It's funny because it's just like it's a valley thing because you can go to San Antonio and if they have it, it's because they got it from the valley. Like, my best friend lives in Houston, and I remember when we first moved out there 20 years ago. I don't know how long it's been since she's lived there. Her husband, they were looking for botana, and they were like, "There's no botanas here." Like, unless somebody from the valley goes and opens a restaurant over there and has a botana on it. Like, it was kind of like our thing.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Yeah, because everywhere else I've gone, I've asked, because it means like technically snack, like finger food snack. And so everywhere else you go, that's what they have. They'll have like a tiny little, like a sample of food. Like, but it's not like a meal, like the way it is in the valley. It's like totally different.
Hi, there's so many places we can go. I'm so excited. I can't wait. Okay. So, did everybody tell us? Okay. So now I want to ask, what is your favorite Christmas song?
Okay, so this isn't song, but technically last year when Cody and I don't even remember where we were going. We were going one of our road trip places, and we were talking about our favorite Christmas movies. And I told him to guess mine, and he guessed every single Christmas movie on the list except for my favorite. And then he goes, "Wait a minute, it's not the Muppets Christmas Carol, is it?" And I said, "Yes." And he goes, "That's my favorite too." And I'm like, "You didn't guess your favorite Christmas movie to begin with?" So my favorite Christmas movie is Muppets Christmas Carol. So I like that story.
I love Muppets. And then also the other Muppet movie, it was Emmett Otter's Junk Band Christmas.
Yes.
Oh, I love
I
that.
love
I
that.
just watched it. Oh, I love it. That's so
That
good.
movie reminds me of like my childhood so much. There's so many
Yeah.
Christmas movies that remind me of my childhood. Like, of course, Frosty the Snowman and the Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer and Charlie Brown, but the Emmett Otter's Junk Band Christmas was my favorite. I love it. And then I watch it now.
Oh,
and
you gotta watch it. It's on Amazon.
I don't think I've even heard of it. What is it?
I'll send it
Emmett
to you.
Otter. Yeah. she'll
Okay.
send it.
Send
Emmett
it.
Otter's Junk Band
It's a Muppet. It's a
I
Muppet.
found it. Oh, okay.
Muppet.
Is this was a question favorite Christmas song or favorite Christmas movie?
Well, let's do Christmas
Song.
song and movie.
Okay, Christmas movie. Oh, okay. There's two. Christmas Story, of course, and the original Grinch animated, and also Jim Carrey's version. Favorite Christmas song. This Christmas by Donny Hathaway.
Did you see that they're doing like a sequel to Christmas Story? Or did I see
Yeah,
that right?
I
Or
started
was I
watching
wrong?
it. I did start watching it, and I haven't got far with it yet.
Okay.
So it's not the same feel. I'll tell you
No?
that.
Okay.
What I've
Oh, yeah.
watched already, it's not the same feel as the original. But I'm gonna continue it though. So I want to see what happens. Gotta see.
I love Hark the Herald Angels Sing, and then my favorite movie is It's a Wonderful Life.
Oh, that's a classic.
Oh.
Very good.
Yeah.
Very good. Yeah. Priceless is one of those.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so I'll go. I think favorite Christmas movie is actually A Nightmare Before Christmas.
Mm.
So
Oh, that's a good one.
absolutely love it. I don't know if I have a favorite song. I tend to go much more of the classics. I love listening to Sinatra in the winter. I love Ben Cosby, so I will go more in that route when it comes to Christmas songs. I even listen to Elvis Silent Night Take, which is beautiful, but I don't know if I have a favorite. Christmas is not my holiday. Like if you were asking Halloween, I'm all over that. Christmas, I'm like,
Yeah.
it's fun. It's nice. I'll be okay.
It's funny you say Nightmare Before Christmas because I don't think of that as a Christmas movie. I think of it as a Halloween movie.
Halloween movie.
But it's definitely a Christmas movie. Yeah.
It's a Christmas movie.
I think me for two birds with one stone. It's a Merry Christmas, Charlie Brown. The soundtrack from that, and then the
Aw.
classic cartoon.
Yeah.
It's so good. I was reading an article on that yesterday that show single-handedly switched popularity from aluminum trees to real-looking artificial trees
Yeah.
because of the little
Mhm,
tree.
mhm.
Like that single-handedly like switched the craze.
That's
Is that
actually the Christmas tree that I have. I have it up right now.
I do
The
too.
little,
'Cause
like,
I have one
Charlie
too.
Brown.
You have a little
Oh,
one.
I'm gonna grab it.
that is so cute.
While
You
he's
know,
getting
it's
it
not Christmas until you watch Charlie Brown's Christmas.
Oh,
Oh,
Oh, that is so
So
cute.
good.
Oh.
oh, that's like my regular tree.
Can y'all see that?
Oh, that's so cool.
Ralphie.
Aw.
Aw,
Back.
I love that. There's
I
like
love
a-
that you guys are just so like crazy obsessive like me about
It's
things that
fun.
you love.
I've also seen there's a lesser known Christmas movie that I'll list in called The Ref with Dennis Leary. No one and Kevin Spacey before.
I've heard of it.
but-
I've heard of it, but isn't it about like a divorced couple and they get like a home invasion or something,
Yeah.
and then they drive the guy crazy, the intruder crazy, right?
Yeah, the intruder is Dennis Leary, so it's a comedy, and throughout their trauma of the being held up, they end up kind of reconciling. So
Yeah.
it's like, kind of suspensey, but it's a romance. It's really, I like it. I think it's so funny and so much fun. But there's a song called "Indiana Christmas" by Straight No Chaser. It's like a acapella. It's beautiful. That's my favorite song.
My favorite song is also from Muppets Christmas Carol.
Which one?
It feels like Christmas.
Oh yeah.
I mean, the whole soundtrack is amazing, but it feels like Christmas. I mean, that song will make me cry every year.
Yeah.
And then, but there's another song that I guarantee you almost no one will know. It's called "I Wish You Christmas," and I think John Rutter wrote it. It's a choral piece. My sister and I were both like little choir girls, and she still is. But "I Wish You Christmas" is one of the most beautiful songs I've ever heard.
Oh, I have to YouTube it. I can YouTube it, Jackie?
Yeah, I can. I'll send it in the chat,
Okay,
or I can even post it on the link to this. I can find it.
please. I'd like to listen.
It's so beautiful.
I wish you Christmas. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, so we're almost out of time. I want to ask real quick. I know, right? It goes by so fast.
That's fast.
Laugh the whole time. Okay, so what advice would you give to kids who want to write books?
I kind of shared this earlier. Definitely, read your genre, but definitely branch out and read all genres. Read a little bit of everything from newspapers, magazines, everything. Listen to all types of music. If you just like country, branch out. You'll be surprised, because the magic with being very diverse with that is that you never know what ideas are going to fuse together and create an amazing story, whether you write it at that time or you save it for something to write in the future. And attend conventions, listen to events like this, talk to authors, ask authors questions, and write what you love.
Right, what you love.
I will have something a little bit different for all of them. When you start writing, be careful who you share your stories with. I have found a lot of people, and even when I started out, if you write something you love and you share it with the wrong person and they give you, it might not be negative, but it's just kind of like, any kind of feedback, especially at the beginning of your writing, can discourage you tremendously and can actually just tear your heart apart. So it's just because you're sharing with somebody, that might not be your right audience, they might not be your target audience. So when you're writing, it's almost be careful who you confess your sins to, be careful who you guard your baby as much as you can until you're ready to actually show it to the world. So your dreams doesn't become stillborn. You don't want that piece to be destroyed before it has a chance to be birthed. So just be careful who you share with.
PC, I love that.
Me too. And my advice really is kind of spinning off that, and just keep going. People will try to discourage you. The world will try to discourage you. Circumstances will try to discourage you. Your own mind will try to discourage you. And if it's what you love and it's what you want to do, just keep going, because the world needs your story.
Amen.
And you're right, Jackie. You're so right. Both you and DC, even people that you would never imagine to discourage you can sometimes be the ones that are the worst. So you definitely want to be.
Usually those are the people that want to hide in this. It's like, I'm going to be devil's advocate. The devil doesn't need an advocate. Don't help. You know, it's like, let me save you. What if people are gonna don't listen? Sometimes you're gonna scare them by dreaming bigger than they can handle. And some of them might try to protect you. Still write your story.
We're
Absolutely.
grown-ups. We don't need protecting.
No.
We got this.
Good.
I think I would say it doesn't have to be perfect, and just keep writing, because I think whenever people write, a lot of the time, especially when you're young, you think it has to be perfect because this is going to be the story. But I have 3 YA books out right now, 4 with Euphorics. That doesn't mean I've only written 4 books. I've written lots of other books, and they're never going to see the light of day because that's practice. And so if I just stayed obsessed with like the first one I wrote and just kept trying to perfect it, I would never have written everything else that I was supposed to write. And so I think just like not thinking it has to be perfect, just creating as you create. Maybe you'll revisit it later. Maybe you won't. Maybe that'll spur, like somebody just said a moment ago, maybe it'll spur an idea later on down the road, or that'll be an open door to something else. So just keep writing.
I feel like there's something that I know, like a lot of writers can tend to be more introverted because, you know, it's something that they can do that's very personal and they can hole up, you know, and write their stories. But at the same time, I think like my number one tip is you still need to find a circle, like find a support system. And I think it should consist of critique people, you know, you can work on your craft with, but then it can also, you have your support who are other authors who you build each other up. Because as others were saying, there's a lot of rejection in writing. There really, really is. And so you kind of have to do what you can to kind of overcome that.
So true.
And that's me, right, Cody?
Do what? Oh,
That's
it's
me,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yes, right there.
Yep. I love it, Cody. Find your circle, find your tribe. That's,
Yeah.
That's you. That's all. Yeah.
Thanks.
that's very important.
It is. Beth?
Well, I would concur with what everybody else said. The only other thing, like you're saying, write your story as far as don't be afraid to put on paper what you want to put. The other thing is, even with kids, even with teenagers, sometimes they'll be like, but what will sell? Even kids are thinking about that. And I'm like, don't worry about that. By the time, if you sold this book or if you publish it, by the time that happens, whatever trends will be passed. And so go ahead and just tell the story that you want to tell. And also I would say like study craft too. I always recommend like Stephen King's On Writing and just read. It's like read, like Miracle said, read in the genre that you love and then expand also. But, you know, like for me it's like I said, when I read Chris Crutcher's Staying Fat for Sarah Burns, and I realized, oh my gosh, there's a place for the stories that I have. And I think there's a place for everybody's stories as far as people want to be seen and heard and understood and acknowledged for who they are. And so I think you have to have a certain amount of fearlessness, and also just and you guys know, after you've been in this business a while, you realize how little you do not have control over, you know, that there is so much you do not have control over, and you can put your heart and soul into something and the winds may have changed to where maybe they're not interested in what you have to say right now, and then just find another outlet for it. So you can make it happen no matter what. Just, you know.
Guys, I went totally over. I was like, okay, I have to end it because my next session starts in 2 minutes. No! Thank you all so much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Cody, bye, Beth.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Guys.
Bye-bye.